We are live everywhere. It's the Mina's House podcast, episode 222. I am Mina SayWhat.
I'm Shana B.
Stuckey.
How are you guys? I missed you guys. It's been like a crazy, rough week.
Yes, crazy is the word.
Yeah, y'all don't even be on Instagram no more. Like, y'all just be living real life.
Really?
Yeah, I never see y'all pop up on Instagram at all now.
Shut up.
Mm-mm.
You didn't see all my pregnancy stuff?
Well, yeah, that. But I'm saying, like, I think that's like the last thing that I saw from you on Instagram.
Really? I've been posting stuff.
Yeah, I just saw she posted like some Foot Locker stuff. And then it was something else at work. I seen Mina post.
Yeah, and then I posted an interview I did with LMA. Damn.
Yeah.
You ain't paying me no mind, Dexter.
I didn't see any of that stuff.
Yeah,
The last,
I was messed up.
and Shana, your last post was that you.
Okay, don't. I was gonna say I haven't posted it. You didn't have to pull up the date though. Don't pull up the date. It's been a little dry.
You know, Dexter's always gonna come with receipts. Okay.
Right? He was about to be like, you said the lie detector determined you have not posted it.
All right, so our show today is about a lot of court cases and guns, and I didn't set it up this way.
That's America for you. That's all.
This is America.
Yeah.
This is America. So that's all we are talking about. So, and then specifically our in your feed features about what people are talking about in our feeds. And literally, this is all I see all up and down my feed. I want to first start with Gunna's bond being denied. So this is a big story in hip hop. Two really major artists, which we've never seen this. I mean, we've seen it happen to Bobby Shmurda, Casanova. We're talking about two major rappers. I don't think this has ever happened. I know there was some situation with Shine, you know, at that time he was popping, but he doesn't have the hits that these guys have under their catalog. And these guys are super popular. So Gunna, Young Thug, both on trial for allegedly running a gang. YSL, which I thought was a record label, according to authorities, is a street gang. So, and it's crazy because I started doing more research on YSL. And then I'm like, then I saw a picture of everyone in YSL. I'm like, there's like 15 people. Where's the music? So now I'm like starting to do my own research, right? Like, why are there this many people in this collective and where is their music, right?
It's funny that you say that because remember back in the day when people win awards and it's like 15, 20 people get up on stage. Now I'm starting to think like, was that a gang? Like what was that?
I mean, you have, and here's the thing, I'm not implying that this is a gang. I don't know what it is. I don't, you know, but all I'm saying is there's a lot of people involved with this, right? Because remember, they locked up like 28 people or something like that on like 56 charges or something ridiculous like that. Don't quote me on the numbers, but I was like, there's 28 people in YSL. let me go and look. But so Gunna has been denied bond for the second time. They are alleging that he's a commander in YSL. So you don't believe this at all?
No, and I'm not saying that he's not, like, but I just feel like that's just the name that y'all know, and that's just who y'all are going after. Like, I don't know, maybe my ignorance is peaking here, but it just don't seem like that's what he would be doing and being on the forefront and being all like active. We've all seen American Gangster. We know you're not supposed to wear the minks in public. And I just think they would know better than that.
Well, you would think, but I originally thought like they would use him more to press for some more info, because that's why I'm so confused, because some of the things that they are put up on charges by, and you're right, Mina, I was doing my research to see like who got charged with what, and some of them got these many counts, and looking at Gunna's counts. And I honestly just thought they were going to be using him to like kind of press for information. You know how you kind of like get the weakest link because you know they can help you. But then when I read that like a commander, I'm like, did he just get like promoted to that? Like, was that a recent like pushing P and you push to promotion. Like
That's the thing, pushing promotion. But also though, if he was a commander, like wouldn't somebody else just immediately take the fall for him? I just feel like if you're the commander, like somebody else got to be like, oh, we got to protect him. Let me take. I mean, really, I think somebody should take the fall for him anyway. He's still got the money, so
right. Here's the thing, there's a whole bunch of people in this collective, right? Someone's doing something, right? I'm just gonna put that out there because they all not putting out music. Right? This is a big group that I saw this picture, and I haven't heard music from all these people. My whole thing is there's a difference between you being in a group and people in your group are doing shady things, which is bound to happen when you're in a group. There's always one or two loose cannons that are going to be doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. In general, it doesn't even have to be murder or drugs or anything. In general, if you have a clique and there's 10, 15, 20 of y'all, you're always going to have them loose cannons that want to drink and drive. They want to smoke all the illegal stuff. And you got to be the one to be like, no, don't do that. We're going to get locked up. Yeah. So it's like, you're always going to have those loose cannons. So there's some loose cannons in this group, in this collective, right? But I don't know. I don't feel like if there was illegal activity going on, to me, I don't know how organized it was. And that's what this is. They're saying this is an organized crime. Maybe there's some crime going on. I don't know. Maybe there's some crime. I don't know how organized it is. And if it's not organized, then you can't really hit people with Rico.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I'll say that. I think that there was some organized, because as you said, when you look at some of the people, it's like, they got names and stuff, but you ain't never heard a track. You ain't heard a mixtape or nothing. So I do feel like there was some organization going on.
Okay.
I just still don't think that like Gunna Commander, I'm not following that line, but
you don't feel like there's a hierarchy like there is in the mafia.
I feel like there's a hierarchy. I just don't feel like he was at the top. Again, like, and I would say jokingly, but I'm being serious, unless there was like some meeting where it was like, okay, he's more the forefront now and he earned this right to do this, or he did something like substantial. Like you ever seen, like, I'm not trying to be smart, but y'all remember like Donnie Brasco, and that was based on like that one guy was able to kind of like keep moving up the guy that played as he did stuff. So that's the only way I could see this as him having, knowing that they're saying like the length of this organization, him having that kind of status is just like random to me.
I will say, when you're a rapper and you're rapping about what they're rapping about, you're going to need protection. You're going to need people around you. And sometimes these people are shady, I mean, I don't know if they've hired bodyguards, but this is just kind of the culture of being in the music business sometimes. I mean, we talked about this earlier about how certain rappers will go to certain cities and they have to talk to certain gang members to get the protection that they need in whatever city they're in. So it kind of comes with the life. You can't just be rolling up into people's neighborhoods, especially singing the songs that they're singing and rapping the songs that they're rapping, and just think no one's going to try to rob you or try to do something to you when you got all this money, you got all these chains. Sometimes you need people around you to protect you. So maybe that's what some of these guys are in this group. But so for me, when I heard that Gunna was the commander, it wasn't so much like, that wasn't the most egregious thing. I think for me, the most egregious thing was, because I don't know, I've never been around Gunna. I never got a sense for him. I don't know anything about this group, right? All I know is the music. Mm-hmm. So, but what I thought was weird, what I thought was crazy was, it's literally May? His trial date isn't until January.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, you gotta wait 8 months to be proven guilty?
That's common. Obviously, with the shocker was that he was denied the bond, because that's common that, in a lot of cases, whether they're murder or they're federal, it does take a long time to actually go to trial. So, but again,
that's what my boyfriend was telling me. He was like, 8 months is nothing. Common. Some people sit there for a year waiting for trial. But I'm like, it's just ridiculous that you got to sit in jail. Say you're innocent.
Yeah.
Right. And literally you go to trial and you get proven innocent. You were just taking 8 months of your life, or they just took 8 months or a year of your life for something that they didn't even prove you did.
But then that tells me they have something on him. Obviously, they probably thought he was a flight risk because of his money or whatever, but that tells me that there was something substantial. And again, maybe to your point, it's something dumb he did, like paid for something that led to something, knowingly probably did it. There's something they have to have for a judge to be like, besides, because there's a million people that are flight risk that they'll still put on house arrest and stuff like that, that he had to have done, that they're like, oh yeah, no. Because I mean, most of the time you gotta be like murder somebody or like actually have done that. So I don't know if he, maybe mistakenly did something and his commander status. I don't know. But the big question nobody keeps answering and I need to know is what is going on with Chloe.
Remember, she quit him a couple weeks ago. Remember, she was like,
"Shut up! I forgot all about that." Shana, I'm gonna say this on air, and every time I say this, I'm gonna say my friend Shana. All she cares about is what's up with Chloe. I forgot all about that. Damn, she's not a ride or die. She said bye. My sister's in a Disney movie. Bye.
You caught up in the Rico. Questioning me.
You ain't getting a letter from me. I ain't putting no money in your commissary.
Because they are saying that they broke up, right? But they never publicly broke up. And it's like, if the timing is very curious. And she ain't said Nathan, like nothing. She ain't going to. She ain't trying to. She probably wants people just to forget that they was even dating.
Yo, but how do you tell someone you're getting a little... he didn't know. Right, he didn't know. Right. So she probably found out on the Shade Woman, was like, wait a minute, we was just on a date 2 days ago. When did you find time to be the commander in YSL?
See, then that's when you start to lie, like, no, girl, no. They're like, your boyfriend. Oh no, he's not my boyfriend. We broke up like a while ago. You just said a while ago. So like
way before he was a commander. Like we've been done.
We weren't really dating. We were just friends. Like we were just going to the basketball games.
It was an industry. It was one of them industry hookups.
I think didn't he put her in a video or something?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He was in one of his videos. Yep.
Yeah. Damn, girl. Well, we all got that one that ends up in jail.
She dodged that bullet. Wait, what?
Every girl got one. Everyone has one. If you grew up in the city, you grew up in a hood, everybody got that one guy that they knew that they almost dated or kind of dated or were kind of talking to that ended up in jail. You got one, right, Shana?
Yeah, but I'm gonna say, but I ain't got no Ricos. I ain't got nothing else.
Like, damn, I knew he was doing some sketchy stuff, but I didn't know it was that bad. All right, so related to this, another big topic of conversation is the fact that they're using lyrics as evidence, which we've had a conversation about on this podcast regarding if it's something that we're feeling or we're not. So we actually have the songs. I'm impressed at how much information we have these days about these trials. Like back in the day, you would never know. We literally know everything. Okay. So, on the indictment list, they were saying that lyrics from 3 songs are going to be used. These songs are on the Slime Language 2 compilation. The songs are Take It to Trial, ironically. Ski, which was a big song, right? And Slatty. So I listened to these actual songs. Well, I already knew Ski, but I listened for like the wording, and I went to Genius and I looked up the lyrics. They talking about some stuff in these songs, man. Have you guys looked at the song or researched the lyrics or any of that? What are your thoughts on this?
I saw this thing with this guy. He was one of the prosecutors, and he was reading the lyrics out. And honestly, with these no disrespect to anybody, but if these people are going to be reading these lyrics, these white people are going to be reading them, and they sound like they're white people reading them, people are not going to pay it attention because it don't hit the same way when y'all do it, and it just feels because like they try to read it in this way of showing like, oh, this isn't me saying this, and it's like it don't really hit the same. Like they should play the music itself.
You can't understand him.
Yeah, but because them reading it out, it just don't. I don't think it hits the same way.
You know what they're going to do for the jury? Because I saw one of them, like when it first happened, and we had just had the pod where we talked about it. There was one that was posted on like one gossip site. It was an excerpt that was like very telling. But I read it, and I read it how I would, I guess, from my point of view, even though I don't understand anything they say in their song, but I read it like in my vernacular, I'll say. So yeah. I think that's probably because when I read it to myself, you start reading like, and then you shooting them. Ooh, like I was adding in extra things after I read it. So I think they will do all three for the jury. Like the prosecutor might start reading it. They're going to give them copies so that they can study, especially when they go in, and they're going to play them. So they're going to have triple doses of understanding what those lyrics are. And then again, they're going to start breaking them down to associate them with some of these crimes. That's
true.
Well, one of the lyrics that I remember mentioned a guy that was a Crip, and then I believe he has a song with that same. There's a song with that same guy. So they're literally gonna maybe connect the dots. Like you said, you knew this person. This person is here. This person was here on this night and did this.
I was gonna say the one.
So like connecting the dots to see like this is.
Yeah, the one I heard was something about a body, somebody did something, dropped the body, then we went somewhere and they were saying like it coincided like with the timing and the date that the one alleged crime happened. And I was confused, like, why would y'all put that in the song?
Yeah.
You know what though? I saw a meme and I shared it of this guy saying me trying to concentrate during the Young Thug trial, listening to the music, and he's sitting there like turning up.
Which is why they just can't play it.
But it's like, here's the thing. So when you are judged, you're supposed to be judged by a group of your peers, right? Mm-hmm. But somehow they have to be unbiased. So in this situation, you can't be judged by a group of your peers because they're going to be biased.
Yeah.
Because that's what that meme kind of told me. Like, it's going to be hard for me to pay attention to the lyrics if I'm turning up and they playing ski in the courtroom.
Yeah, but then it's the opposite though. And it's a bunch of people who don't understand it.
That's what I was going to say. What's going to end up happening is they're going to pick people who literally know nothing about hip hop, do not listen to this music, do not like rap, maybe don't look like us, maybe aren't representative of the culture, but that's not really going to be a jury of your peers.
I was going to say, having sat in and obviously been through a lot of jury selections that I didn't get picked for. Thank you. Hallelujah.
Really? I've never been to one.
No, and I thank God I had tragedy because now I can't get called for anymore because I had a whole breakdown and they were like, we just never going to call you again. I was like, oh, really, Dad? I would have bended that. But it's really not your peers. Like, so that's always the thing that people say. I don't know why that language is in there because what they consider as a peer is an American.
Right.
Because or a citizen is what I'll say. Because you don't have to be American, you can be a naturalized citizen, but they consider a citizen because they will go through any age range, any group, any. So that is why that's always been scrutinized that they need to actually change it by saying peers. Because again, you associate that as well. If I'm on trial, then like Mina, Dex, y'all gonna be here, but no, it's gonna be Miss Sue, who might be 70 and retired, along with some Dexter and Minas, but also some educated, so they shouldn't really say peers because it's considered someone who understands the Constitution is your peer.
Yeah, and also, I think the education level should play a part in that too, because like would it still be considered your peer if you guys are on different levels of education? Like I know they don't consider that, or even like social and economic background. Like they don't consider those type of things when they're deciding who's a peer.
My whole thing is when they ask the questions to choose the jury, I can almost guarantee you one of the questions are, have you ever listened to a Young Thug song? Have you ever listened to a Gunna
Mhm.
song? And if you say yes, nope,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just gonna be like, nope.
If they say, "Are you a fan? Have you been to a concert?" They're definitely, because you're going to be too biased. You're going to be too biased.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
It-
like
it
no
has-
one that listens to his music is probably gonna be on the jury.
Like, it's actually crazy, and the reason why they have to get so detailed is because, you know, one of the things used to be, have you ever been a victim of a crime or a crime like this? Like, obviously they won't really, if you said you were a victim of rape, they probably won't pick you for a rape case, but they used to say that about like murders or shootings, and people would think they would get off because they used to, but because it's so common, they won't necessarily just kick you off a jury now. They'll be like, okay, we'll ask this witness some more questions. But it's something where it's like a celebrity, they're definitely like you got to consider the OJ trial. Everybody knew him in a sense, so you weren't going to get away from people not knowing him. But it's like, if you was like, his jersey when he was on Buffalo Bills, I didn't see every Naked Gun movie. No, you're out. I'm sorry.
All right. So our next case that we have to talk about is our next docket is Megan Thee Stallion versus Tory Lanez. All right. So my significant other and I always argue about this all the time. Every time there's a new piece of information on the internet, I don't know why he wants to argue me down. I don't know if he's trying to convince me to change my opinion. It's just not gonna happen.
Well,
but
you do know, when it comes to cases, you don't have the best track record.
I don't.
Because you said Jussie Smollett.
Jussie Smollett. I'm always you're always gonna go back to Jussie Smollett.
Because you was adamant. I couldn't get over that. Like, like she
I
was
still
like,
don't think he did that.
Oh Lord, let's talk about Megan Thee Stallion and Tory.
Poor Jussie, he's appealing. So we're starting to see all the evidence. And the crazy part is I personally don't know what evidence is real and what evidence is fake, because a lot of it contradicts one another, right? So that's really the scary part about this is what is real, what is fake, and what's going to end up on the trial that's real and that's fake, right? So I think the biggest thing is more so that, first of all, there's differences in the medical records, right? And then there's differences in the eyewitness accounts. So I've seen medical records that say that she was shot, that she was, bullet fragments were 3 bullet fragments were taken out of her ankles, were packaged up, sent to the police. She still has some fragments in there that were too small to retrieve. Then I saw a contradictory report that said that a doctor was like, well, she had lacerations from stepping on glass. So completely different reports, eyewitness reports, completely different reports. I literally read something that said from 3 different people. So when this thing happened, Megane or Tory or Kelsey or the bodyguard, none of them called the cops. People called the cops, right? Multiple people. So they have those people's accounts. So one of the accounts are that there were women fighting. There were women fighting, and it started in the car and then escalated to outside of the car, and that they were men that were also punching a woman with their closed fist, right? So that's one account, that there were 2 women fighting and 2 men punching a woman with closed fists and dragging the woman back in the car. Then there's another account saying that all 3 were hitting one person, which is presumably Megane, right? So now there's this conversation about a fight. If Megane and Kelsey were fighting, is there a possibility that maybe Kelsey shot Megane, right? That's the new narrative now. Because remember, until now, I'm like, okay, well, everybody's saying Tory didn't shoot her. Well, who shot her then? Because she got shot. There's medical records that say she got shot. She didn't even want to tell the hospital that she got shot. They said, hey, there's bullets in here. They did an x-ray and said there's bullets in here. This is not from you cutting your foot. So I wanted to get your thoughts on all of this because this definitely makes it more confusing. I am still very adamant because I said this to my man. Like, it doesn't matter if Kelsey and Megane were fighting. It doesn't. At the end of the day, she got shot, and she got shot with his gun, and they found the gun on his side of the car when the police stopped him. What do you guys make of all these contradictory accounts?
I was going to let Dex go because for people on YouTube, I smiled when Mina was talking, and not because I think any of it is like funny, but I was smiling because I was watching Dex's face as Mina went through certain facts.
It's funny to me.
And we don't know which one of these are facts. I just want to say that this is everybody just saying different stuff.
We have a good idea.
I would say that about everybody saying different stuff. So I saw that one report that was like a doctor came out and said she had glass fragments. I was confused, like what doctor decided he wanted to just violate that? So then it came out that the doctor didn't say it, it was more the report.
Right.
But then my confusion in people reading that report was not reading the full report, because I'm like, well, it says attached in the police report that what was found at the scenes were glass, bullet shells, and an acrylic nail, which she must obviously broke her nail. But I'm like, so those were people that were like, see, she didn't get shot, it was just glass. And I'm like, so y'all just glossed over this whole part.
The bullets, right?
In this very affluent neighborhood. Like, that's not something that, like, I don't live in an affluent neighborhood, but I don't just have shell casing outside my house. Like, that's not something that just would be there. So I'm like, yes, all of these things could have happened. She could have been shot at, fragments could have went in, and there could have been glass in her, like, all of these things can be true.
Or they could have hit her with a glass bottle.
Right. And then
if they were scrapping
the bottle, we don't know. Like, all of these things can really be connected. As for the eyewitnesses account being different, I don't think that that's like a big thing to say either one is telling the truth or lying, because again, we know in all types of crimes, you're going to have different people that claim they saw different stuff, and they, even if they've seen the same stuff, somebody saw it in a different way.
Right.
They will add their own
different angles, right?
Yeah, like so that part I wasn't as shocked on. I think the part that was bothering me, and I was seeing people saying to your point, was like, see, she was fighting with Kelsey, or she was, and I'm like, okay, but at the end of the day, if we don't know what happened, again, we all don't know what happened in this car that led up to it. This thing still happened. This man, again, I think we talked about it before, I don't think he intentionally tried to shoot her, but he shot at her. And the result was the result. Like, I think he probably was trying to be smart or trying to be a big man or make her scared or whatever happened, because clearly something very serious happened for him to want to do that. I clearly feel like it ain't the bodyguard, because why wouldn't the bodyguard have just taken the fall for this? The bodyguard ain't taking the fall. Kelsey,
it's definitely not the bodyguard.
She didn't shoot at herself, because again, the one thing that the eyewitnesses accounts are, although some of them are different, all kind of speak to is that there was one girl, and whether they say it was the two girls fighting, whether they say it was three people fighting the one girl, and I think another one said they, heard the man yelling at her and saw him shooting towards her. All the eyewitness accounts are saying there was one clear victim in this case. And that's why I'm like, I guess that's my issue with this whole thing and with people and kind of like attacking her. Like, she was the victim in this regardless of what happened.
Dexter.
Let me tell you this. With this story,
at one point you thought there was no case.
Okay, you know what though?
You want to talk about my track record, Dexter? At one point, you didn't even know there was a case
because she was silent.
You were like, he was never charged. I'm like, yes, he was.
Because she was silent, and this is weird too. Megane, when this other stuff first came out, Megane was so silent about it. So I'm like, this just doesn't feel real to me. This feels fake. It feels staged. Like she wouldn't be that silent if this was something real, right? And I stood by that. Like I really thought that.
I'm gonna ask you a quick question when you say that.
Huh?
As you say, she was silent. Would Rihanna have told the cops that Chris Brown beat her up if it wasn't for the way that it went down?
I don't think so. I think she would have been silent.
So go ahead when she was silent. Go ahead.
But I'm getting to the point though. All right, so like she was silent, right? And I'm like, this is fake. Like you don't got no case, whatever. That's why you're so silent about it. Then like she started out of nowhere, started rapping and singing and talking about it. I'm like, oh God, she's really active and vocal now. And that's when I really was like, she lying. She talking too much because she lying. Then this story came out.
Wait a
about
minute.
the glass.
Wait, I'm gonna let you finish. But so when she's silent, she lying. But when she talk too much, she lying. Okay.
Lying, like she's trying to cover up her lies.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
You taking notes?
It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But go ahead.
So then, this situation came out with the glass, and then like I was sent, like a bunch of people sent it to me, right? And they're like, I knew that was lying, this, that, and the third. See this, that, and that. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit on this for a second. Then I realized she was silent about it. Like I haven't seen her say anything about the glass thing or whatever. And I said, Megane telling the truth. Like she's the one that's innocent here. And I could tell that she's innocent in this situation. Like, well, she's the victim in the situation because of the silence. Like when she's trying to make a case or whatever, like she gets loud. I know she smashed Tory Lanez. I know that for a fact went down. Because I can tell by the way she like talks and stuff like that. But he picked up that gun and he shot it at her. And honestly, I think a lot of the stuff that she's doing it to get back at him because she's hurt by what he did. I don't think she's ever going to admit that portion of it, which I understand why you wouldn't. But like when it was all guys too that were sending me, single guys too. Like
that's the point that I was gonna make, because most people that be saying that she's lying are men. Yeah. And here's the thing. This is what I told my man. I said, look, babe, I think you just dislike her. So for how she raps and, how she talks about men, I think some men just dislike her. And because of their dislike for her as a person, they don't believe anything can ever happen to her or don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. And I think that's what's happening here.
I've never heard a Tory Lanez song.
That's the thing. But the thing is, like, these guys now, they be posting, and I even said Megane was lying, but I'm still not gonna pretend like I like Tory Lanez. I'm not gonna go start listening. But these guys are starting to post Tory Lanez music and stuff. And I'm not saying that people didn't like Tory Lanez before, but like to me, it just seemed like people were throwing a little bit of extra sauce on it. And I feel like I think a lot of guys don't like Megane, but really, I think a lot of these guys have an issue with women. Like men, there's a lot of men out here who really genuinely hate women, like having sex with them, but as human beings, as respect and stuff, like the guys, they hate them. Like they really hate women. And y'all got to be careful with guys like that because they are out here.
Damn, they're your friends.
Yeah, so to your
they
point,
sending you stuff
on Instagram. They my friends.
Megane is a rapper that raps, more like how men would rap. Like, she's like kind of aggressive but soft in a sense. Yeah. But like she'll talk about, like, again, I think Mina said you said it, she'll talk about dudes, how dudes talk about us. Yeah. So you have these men that are like, oh, who she thinks she is? Or, she's although they all will probably have sex with her. The same men that think she's lying. But anyway, that, again, to your point, Dex, because they be having sex with women but hate women. But that is what got my gears was with the whole doctor thing, that it was so many men like see, and I was like, no, reading is fundamental. Keep reading this report. Like, so you're gonna read the caption for the Instagram post with 11 pages of report, but y'all just not gonna read none of that report.
But this reminds me almost of like the Trump election, right? How like for some reason all the people that supported Trump, they had all these articles that made him look good, and all the people that didn't support Trump had all the articles that made him look bad. Like, I just think it's a matter of like the algorithm or whatever we're seeing on social media, that we're like choosing to pick things instead of looking at everything and making like an informed decision. Like it's like my man will see all the stuff that contradicts, like my opinion. And then I'm like, okay, but did you see this? Okay, but did you see this? And I'll send it to him and he was like, oh. And then he'll try to like poke holes in what I'm sending him. And I'm like, if you're going to make a decision on something, make an informed decision. Don't just, the first thing you read be like, see, I knew she was lying. Like, what, sir, there's a whole nother medical report. I think the issue here is the fallacies that appear on the internet with anything, you know. And again, we don't know how much of this is going to end up in court and how much of it is real. I could have went on there and did a photoshopped medical report. You know,
was y'all be faking DMs? You think they're not faking these medical reports?
Like, I don't know what's real. I just don't know what's real, but it's like there's a very biased way of how people are looking at this. And like me, just as I'm reading the things that you know support Megane, I'm seeing what the opposition is saying, the ops, and I'm like, okay, I see what the ops is saying, but still, like, I'm using my common sense, and my common sense was, I don't care if she was smashing Tory, I don't care if Kelsey was fighting her, I don't care if she was fighting Kelsey or they was I don't care. At the end of the day, she got shot. And that's a fact. That's all I know. Maybe she stepped on glass also, but I know for a fact that she got shot. Who shot Megane?
When my one friend sent me that, I said, so she stepped on glass and she didn't get shot? And he's like, yes. I said, if she stepped on glass, Tory put that glass there.
Oh, right.
But it's like,
the fallacies or falsifications on the internet. There were headlines that says "doctor says." I kept looking like, did the doctor? I was like, there's testimony already. They got people testifying because I didn't even know it was that deep. No, y'all gonna take a report and make it seem like this doctor did this. I was like, doctor in his office, like, I get in this. I'm just doing my job.
But remember when she first got arrested, though? Remember she said, I stepped in glass because she didn't want to say it. I got shot. And I think that's what that was, to be honest. Like, I said
but that's right, because you know, in crimes, what happens is they will ask the victim what happened, and then they'll come to the hospital. So that's why that report was like, okay, this is what the patient said, this is signs we've seen. This is what police found on the scene, because they know people don't tell the truth, people don't remember. That's their whole job, is to put it together like, okay, wait a minute, well now 1 + 1 is not equaling up to 2, so we need to get it to 2.
So that's what I was going to say. I think this is consistent with her trying to cover up this very messy situation, right? So it's like, because she went into the hospital and she told them, I stepped on glass. So she ain't going to the hospital saying, I've been shot. Right. He shot me. No, she went into the hospital still trying to cover up, because she's probably like, first of all, she's like one of the biggest artists on here. I'm not going to say on the planet.
I get it.
But, you know, she's one of the biggest artists, charting artists. For it to be in the news that you fist fighting your friend and fist fighting another man, and like, you that you don't want that. That makes you look crazy, right?
Well, especially it make you real crazy when you heard of a Tory Lanez. I'm like, I feel like the movie joke that James Chappelle said, at least you got somebody repute. Like, I was like, oh.
So it's like, it's consistent with her going into the hospital and still saying, I got cut. But it was the doctor, the medical professionals who said, you didn't get cut. You got shot. And here's an x-ray. Yeah. Here are the bullets. These are the 3 we removed. That's another thing we found out. He shot 5 times. Well, she was shot at 5 times. Mm-hmm. So all the witness reports confirmed there were 5 gunshots. So I don't want nobody saying she didn't get shot, because you have witnesses saying they heard gunshots. They said 5. They pulled out 3 fragments out of her feet and packaged it up and sent it out to the police. And then maybe 2 of them dispersed or whatever. And there's fragments of the remaining 2 is still in her. But it's like, it's consistent with her going into the hospital and saying, oh no, I stepped on glass. Yeah. So of course there will be a medical report that says, so-and-so stepped on glass, there's a laceration. But then we learned later on, they did an x-ray, and that's when they saw the bullets.
Right. And again, it was broken glass along with those bullet casings.
So it's like, yeah, you would find that in the police report, because that's what she said. She maintained that even when she went into the hospital. It was the medical professionals that said, you lying.
It's funny, and not funny, because obviously I wouldn't want this to happen to her, and God forbid. But had Tory killed Megane that night, because again, shooting somebody in the foot, he could have hit her iliac nerve. She could have bled out before she got to that hospital. I just wonder if all these same people would be riding for him the way that they would if this woman would have turned up dead, crippled, like just, you know what I mean? Because I think people also was like, oh, she got shot in the foot, like as if that's like it's not a thing because it's, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like they didn't take it serious.
She also didn't disappear either. Like, you know, with Rihanna, like it happened, we saw it, and it was like, oh, this is bad. And she went away for a minute too. Megane like didn't disappear. And I think a lot of that is because like she doesn't need to disappear. And I think we have this mindset where like, oh, you're so damaged, all this happened to you. You shouldn't be out here.
But people have different tolerance levels. Her mother literally died and she was still out here. Yeah, that's one of the most painful things. It really comes down to your tolerance level and your willingness to push. Everybody handles trauma differently. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah. Okay, and I want you to know that everybody handles trauma differently. They handle problems differently. You know, some people want to ignore it and keep it moving. Some people sit in it, you know, and it makes them depressed. You can't sit here and tell somebody else how they're supposed to deal with their trauma. The woman lost her mother and kept it pushing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. These Instagram people, and to your point, is maybe that's what it was because she didn't go away. They were like, she didn't get shot. She's fine. Like it was nothing. Like, I'm sorry if y'all got shot because I've never gotten shot and I ain't trying to. I don't want to get shot in the finger, in the foot, the nowhere. Like, so it's just, I hate the dismissiveness of how like she's being treated in this case and people treat it.
Yeah.
Here's when I really believed her. At first I was like, I don't know what happened. I need more evidence, right? When she uploaded that picture of her foot,
yeah,
I was like, she got shot. There's a picture. It is right there.
People were like, oh, was she on Instagram? She took a picture. She posted a fact. So it was like she had to be like, no, I really got shot. Look at my feet. Look. I don't feel like she should have even had to have done that.
That's the thing. But it convinced me, like, oh wow. When you see the picture of the shot at feet, you're like, oh damn, she got shot. Like it makes it real. I don't understand people who are literally looking at it and still, first of all, the people that say she didn't get shot, those people, I just can't. At this point, you should be saying, damn, shorty got shot. That's messed up. Who shot her? Was it Tory or Kelsey? Then if you have that approach, I'm like, okay.
I don't think people are applying enough pressure on Kelsey for me either, though. Like as a woman, I feel like women they're like, oh, I believe Megane, but I don't think women are applying enough pressure on Kelsey. Like Kelsey was obviously involved in this situation, some way, shape, or form. Why aren't we hearing your side of the story? Everybody else is speaking now. You're not saying anything, and there's allegedly a text message that you sent out saying Megane got shot.
That's what I was going to say. I think both Megane and Tory have exonerated Kelsey. And this is why. I brought this up to my man. Remember when Tory Lanez tweeted Kelsey didn't do anything? She don't have anything to do with this.
Yes.
You exonerated her. If it were Kelsey who shot her, that you shouldn't have said that.
No reason for you to do that.
Right. So, but people forget about that tweet. People forget about Tory put that tweet out and said Kelsey ain't do nothing, blah blah blah.
So she took the money. Remember when Megane said?
Are you saying like why are people just light on her, or why people don't think? Because are you just saying like in general people just are like light on her, like they just?
Well, we're focusing on Tory more so than examining could have been Kelsey if they were fist fighting in the car.
Asking Kelsey no more. I mean, maybe she don't be on social no more. I know she was pregnant as well, but people have not. At one point, they were asking her, like,
because why would you just
say happened? And I don't think that's happening anymore.
That's bizarre to me, like that you wouldn't say anything. Like, okay, Tory could be lying, Megane could be lying, and there's two sides to that story. But you're a party that was there that at this point you kind of, like Mina said, have nothing to do with it. Why don't you just tell the truth? Like,
yeah, but that's because she's tied to both of them. She was sleeping with Tory, and Megane was her friend. And now she probably doesn't have a good relationship with either or. Like
somebody was wrong. So like, why don't you just say who was? I feel like she should be held accountable then. If you can't tell people what happened and you were there, Then why would just hold you accountable for it then?
Yeah, I mean, but then also the bodyguard, like you was there, homie. According to one report, you was hitting somebody with a closed fist.
I'm sure they're gonna make them testify. That's why I'm like, this better be on court TV.
No, it adds to the circus of what this is a circus.
I know, but I need to see Kelsey testify because they're gonna bring that text message up. And
right.
Are you going? And again, like I said, she's about to be a mother. I hope you're not about to go to jail for Tory and leave your baby.
But that's the other thing. Then there's a text message that Kelsey sent the bodyguard saying Tory shot Meg, help. So I think that's why people have already exonerated her in their mind, not saying in the court of law she is, but in their mind, it's like, okay, well, Tory said you ain't do nothing. You got a text message saying that Tory shot Meg. Even in the Gayle King interview, she didn't really talk about her friend at all, her ex-friend. She focused more on Tory. So I think people are just like, okay, well, it's not you. But it's like, when it comes to Tory, it's like, if you're going to sit there and say you didn't shoot her, you got to say who did. Because the fact is that she got shot. And until you say who did, then it looks like you did it because A, it was your gun. It was an olive green gun. I don't know what woman's going to have an olive green gun. Okay. And they found it on your side of the car. It was with you. If it was Kelsey's gun, it would have been with her. So I don't know. I wasn't there. We'll see how this plays out. I wish I could be a fly in the court.
Don't worry about it. It'll be on the Shade Room shortly after.
No, but it's like, I want to see it for myself because people interpret and say what they want and they take out what they want, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So our topic for today, and I don't want to make this a big, long, drawn out conversation because I'm already drained from talking about all these court cases. But there was another shooting in Texas. Kids were killed in the elementary school, two teachers. The 18-year-old kid shot his grandmother before he went on this shooting spree, alerted people on Instagram. It's like one shooting after another. And I feel like we had a little bit of peace during the pandemic where we weren't really seeing so much of this, because prior to the pandemic, we were starting to see a lot of this.
Crazy.
And then we got locked down and the shooting stopped. And now that we're back outside, it's like Walmarts, churches, schools. So I don't want to talk about that because that's so grim to me. I'm like, it's like, what can you possibly say about that? Gun reform's not happening. Security, metal detectors, you have to pass laws and get that done and get budgeting. But I think the root of the issue, and this is why I wanted to ask this question, is America obsessed with guns? And is that the root of the issue? Because other countries aren't as gun obsessed as we are. In some countries, police don't even carry guns. So it's like, do you think the root of this issue is that America is obsessed with guns?
Yes, we are. And again, it goes back to, like you said, other countries don't have this issue because there's not an emphasis on the right to bear arms. And it's not as put up as the money-making machine that gun sales are. And when they do allow you to buy guns, we allow people to buy assault rifles and things like that. That is not allowed in other countries. So, a lot of these mass shootings are happening because of assault rifles that are easily bought or easily put together, that you can make it in the mail with stuff you can buy in the country and put together. So that is why I think they don't have these same issues, is because, again, they don't, like I was watching CNN last night, and obviously they were talking about the gun trades. There's gun trades all over the world, and we know that illegal guns get passed, and we know that there's assault rifles in some of, I don't want to say indigenous countries, or let's put it this way, half of the world that has assault rifles, we gave them to them. So that's the other thing. Like, if they have them, it's because we, America, started giving it to them. So and that's why I say it's a more Americanized obsession. Again, to your point, I went to Amsterdam. I didn't see the police with the gun. First of all, it was days before I even saw a police person. Days. Like I forgot that was like a thing
Mhm.
because they just live so differently. You know, there's countries that have had one shooting in a full year, a year. We can't even go a day, we can't go an hour in Philly or Jersey or whatever without a shooting, like let alone these mass shootings. So yes, we are obsessed with guns, and I'm just so speechless. So yeah.
No, I don't necessarily think it's an obsession with guns, and the only reason I say that is because it doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't understand. And I know people do it; they collect guns, and it's like a hobby for people. I understand like people who hunt or people who have guns for protection, but like some people just buy guns just to buy them, and that's a hard concept for me to grasp. Like I just don't understand it. But I think that we have an obsession, a bigger obsession with money and an even bigger obsession with violence. I think Americans are really addicted to making money however we can do it. And like the gun market is a huge money maker. And that's the reason why a lot of our politicians turn the blind eye to this, because they're like, we're making money off of this. It's way more money in this than putting metal detectors in a Walmart. Like we're going to make money off these guns. Then as far as the obsession with violence, like that's just who we are as people. Like we like chaos and violence. Because like otherwise, why would you ever need to buy an AR-15 and you're just a regular person that works a 9-to-5 job? Like what would be like you don't hunt, like I mean your house isn't that big, you live in an apartment. Like I don't understand like what you need that for. And I don't
Use the AR-15. That's the
like,
thing.
like
You
when
can't
you
use that for hunting. That would defeat the purpose of how a hunter hunts. There's literally no purpose for you as an American on American soil to have an assault rifle.
I don't get that.
I think some people are just obsessed with their rights, right? Like I think like the Constitution created certain rights of what we can and cannot do, and I just see it like everywhere, like even with the mask wearing. Like it's prevalent in so many different ways. Like, oh, it's my right to not wear my mask if I don't want to. You can't make me as a government. I think people are very obsessed with rights and like what they're allowed or not allowed to do. And sometimes it's not even like, it's like they don't even listen to reason. It's more like, look, the Second Amendment says I can do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, but the Second Amendment was not written when we were having shootings in school shootings, every other month. It's like it was a different time, right? So it's like, and they were talking about for protection. It's not being used as
I
what?
think it's a
It's
good
not being used for protection anymore. It's being used as a way to wreak violence by the
yes.
mentally ill or the people who are unstable, or people who are unhappy.
Really,
And
that's
it's like you need to change. It needs to change because the guns aren't being used for the purposes that they were intended when they wrote these amendments.
yeah. But also, I think what you just said is a really good point as far as people having this obsession with rights. I don't even think people really have this obsession. I think people are told to have this obsession and they run with it. Like that's the reason why like certain shows like Fox News do so well, because like they find something that people could possibly complain about, they make it a thing, and then people run behind it. Like the mask. People really didn't have a problem wearing masks. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't killing us. But then when people start being told, like, oh, masks they're trying to take away something and do this and the third with the mask, then all of a sudden people had an issue with the mask. Even their kids going into school. Like, people didn't have an issue with their kids being out of school if it was keeping them safe from dying. Like your grandmom's in the hospital dying. You're not like, oh, I want to have my kid around other people. But then when people start telling them like, oh, well, I'm okay. And this and the third, then they start running behind it. And I just think that's our problem in America. We just like to run behind whatever the talking heads are saying. We don't think for ourselves at all. We just refuse to do that.
Well, it's a problem with who has the power in America too, because you know who those rights they don't care about applying those rights to? People any kind of color, minority, women. Like
Yeah.
then all of a sudden those rights you created equal. They don't care about
No, that is 100% true. Especially because we like literally we're just having a conversation, in-depth conversations about getting rid of the abortions. Like you don't want people to have abortions, but you also want people to be able to hold on tight to their guns. Like we gotta.
I can't have an abortion, but I can go and buy 10 assault rifles right now.
That's a good point. It's like people picking and choosing what rights they want to apply and which ones they don't.
To other people.
It said we live in a country where a gun has more rights than a woman, and it's true. It's like 100% true.
The crazy part is
birth control no more because they changed that how you can get birth control, but then they also don't want you to get an abortion. But again, I could walk into the store right now. I don't have a record, give my license, and first of all, that's the other thing. Let's back up with the whole record thing because they give people guns. You can buy them illegally anyway, but they actually will sell you one knowing that you have a record. But I could go right now and buy multiple ones, and that would be fine.
You know what, though? It's like no one's trying to take anyone's right to have a gun away. It's just saying, let's put systems in place where people that should have guns have them and people who shouldn't have guns don't. But even that's really what it is. But then they'll be like, well, they'll get them somewhere at the black market. Okay, well, there's always going to be an illegal side, but that doesn't mean that legally you just say, oh, we're just not going to work on, making sure that obtaining a gun is safe legally because there's an illegal way. Like that makes no type of sense.
I think it just needs to overall be a limit on how many guns you can purchase. Because again, you have the right to bear arms, protect yourself. You need 20 guns to protect yourself. How are you going to shoot on 20? So there should be a limit. And then, they're not going to do it, but there should be a ban on assault rifles. Again, we just said there's no reason. You are not we are at war with ourselves, but you're not at war. You are not in the middle of a battlefield, which is why you can walk into a school with an assault rifle or anywhere with one. That should not be a thing that's sold. Again, forget about your point. People getting illegally. It's sold legally.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, even if people get it illegally, right? Because they're like, well, if someone wants to shoot somebody up and they want to kill people, they're gonna find it and get it either way, right?
So we do
but
nothing
if you even
right.
But if you even look at the shootings where the gun was obtained legally, you just literally made it that much easier for this person to do what they wanted to do. Yeah. So it's like, no, it's the rhetoric is stupid. You don't make it easier to get a legal gun because people can't get them illegally.
Right. Like, well, because you might find out anyway. So yes, 18-year-old, let's let you buy 3 assault rifles.
Yes. Right. And also I think we need to stop the conversation about like the mental health stuff. Like we keep saying like, oh, there should be mental health screenings before you can buy certain type of guns. No, it doesn't need to be no screenings. The gun shouldn't be available to any of us. We don't need that. Like we can have a handgun and we can protect ourselves with a handgun. Like I'm not saying ban all guns. Like handguns are fine. No, that's fine. Like that's not, but like that's me taking care of one person if I have to. An assault rifle, like I would assume that I'm at war and I'm trying to take out as many bodies as we can. And an assault rifle was used to rifle up the body of 10-year-olds. I think if that doesn't show us, and 80-year-olds, to be honest with you, like in the past couple of weeks, if we're not protecting vulnerable people, as in children and the elderly, we're a garbage country. And that's exactly where we are right now.
We stink.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for your thoughts. We don't have the power to change much, but we do have the power to vote for the people who change these things. So as Steve Kerr, the Warriors head coach, mentioned, there are senators that are not passing the laws that will help this situation. So it's like, you need to figure out if these senators are in your state.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, that's the only way we change this, voting the right people in place. And, and we'll see if this actually entices people, because people are upset right now, but then you forget, right? And then you're like, oh, I'm not going to go vote. I'm tired. I was working all day. So you forget that this person is the reason why this isn't changing, or one of the reasons why this isn't changing. And you didn't even make it through you being tired to go to the voting booth to try to get this person out. Yep. So how upset are you really?
That's a good point.
That's the only way I know how to change this. Us complaining about it, talking about it. Yeah, it's healthy, but at the end of the day, the lawmakers make the laws. They change the laws. They the president, the senators, the House, those are the people. So are you voting? Are you doing your research?
Vote and make sure you're comfortable holding these people accountable too, because that's another thing we don't do. Like, we'll mobilize and we'll go out there and vote, but then when it comes to accountability, I feel like we're quiet with it, and we got to stop doing that too.
Listen, Dr. Oz might be a representative for a senator for the House. He's going for the House, right? They're literally counting the votes. Dr. Oz. So it's like we allow people to, come in and have these jobs. And Dr. Oz literally is running on the Republican side, which is crazy to me.
Y'all in Pennsylvania, he does want to outlaw abortion. So y'all can be caught up in his celebrity all you want to, but you're already having problems getting your birth control right now in Pennsylvania. So y'all go ahead and don't vote, or vote because of the celebrity of his name without knowing what he stands for.
Yeah, but look, they're literally doing a recount. Like Dr. Oz might really.
It's going to be him, between him and the Democratic.
Right.
He probably is going to be the Republican.
Well, no, they're doing a recount of the Republican nominee.
Right. I'm saying he probably is looking like he's going to win it.
But that's the thing. Why people didn't vote enough? So why even allow him to be the Republican representation?
I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, why even allow it to get that far? Like, he should have been eliminated in this first round. It should have been another Republican who has been in the Senate or been in the House or been in public policy. It should have been somebody else going up against the Democrat. Like, the fact that Dr. Oz really might be the Republican representation for what? It's the Senate, right?
The Senate.
The Senate in Pennsylvania. Like why does he even get this far?
Because people didn't vote. I told y'all it was 7:45. I got there like right at the end. I was only like maybe, because they tell you your number. I was like maybe 100. But conversely, when I had voted for presidential elections or some of the bigger ones, not this last one because it was different in COVID, but early in the morning, let's say 7, 8 a.m., I've been like 187, and that's at the beginning of the voting day. So that's why, because nobody was voting in Pennsylvania that should have been voting, or people thinking it's funny. And again, like Donald Trump, like, oh, he won't get voted. That's Dr. Oz. He ain't going.
And we should know better because it happened.
Well, whatever state you're in, just be mindful of what your senators and House representatives, what they support, and that's how you change this. Really, you get those people up out of here, and they don't have that power. That's how you change it. That's the only way.
Don't lie and say I know about the election because they said 1,005,000 papers and pamphlets in Pennsylvania. They made sure they clogged up your mailboxes so you would know what day to vote.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening and watching the Mina's House podcast, episode 222. I'm Mina SayWhat.
I'm Shana Beef.
Stuckey.
We'll talk to you.